Do you feel like your life is on purpose? More when we come back.
Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the Woo and Science podcast. I'm Dr. Michael Longyear. This is my better half, Dr. Meaghan Longyear. As you guys know, we have a practice down here in Jacksonville, Florida, where we see things differently. I think most couples see things differently, but ours comes out in the practice as well. I definitely take a much more scientific approach, and then the weird one over here comes from the woo-woo perspective. And we have a really special guest with us today. Dr. LaMarche is here with us today, and he has been a mentor of both of ours since as long as I can remember in our chiropractic journeys and healthcare. I remember seeing him speak for the first time at Parker University when I was in Tri 1, I think, and you were with me at a philosophy night, and he changed school for me forever and her trajectory forever too. So I'd like to bring on Dr. LaMarche. Welcome, Doc.
Good morning, doctors. It is an honor and a pleasure to spend this time with you and with your audience, obviously.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you for being on. And I know, we'll kind of see where the conversation goes, but for those of you guys who don't know Dr. LaMarche, he is the living embodiment of integrity and purpose, in my opinion. And I've watched him for years, and I strive to model a lot of what he does and how he approaches people and life and situations, and just how he always seems to come from, like I said, that integrity, this just being a genuinely good-hearted person. And so I'm really excited to have the conversation with you and talk about purpose. And I love purpose and how it affects the brain. And I know Dr. Meg's got some weird stuff with purpose over here, but I'll kind of let you jump in with how you and why you live your life from a place of purpose and integrity, and how you get there every day.
I'll tell you, purpose is really probably my favorite subject because it changes who you become. Once you discover your purpose, your entire life becomes totally different. And it's exciting to wake up, and it's exciting to live, and it's exciting just to serve and understand that we were put on this planet, in my opinion, for one purpose alone, is to help each other out. That's why we were put here. So purpose for me came somewhat early as far as the thought of living a purposeful life. And that was through the scouting movement. So I was a Boy Scout. So I was in Canada, they first call you Cubs. So I was like a little scout, I think at age 7, and then grew through the scouting movement. And in the process, discovered a number of mentors. And at one point, I was asked, so what is your purpose statement? And I was like, oh, I don't even know what that is. And so I was guided to go through an exercise and really dig deep. Even though I believed I lived a purposeful life, I always worked at leaving everything better than when I found it. And I still talk about that. I said, wherever you go, leave it as good or better than you found it. Get into a relationship, leave it as good or better than you found it. Trying always to be the best. And so I started crafting this purpose statement, and it took me, a number of weeks to have something that was about a half a page long. And my mentor looked at it, he was like, yeah, that's not good enough. You got to whittle it down. You got to whittle it down. You got to whittle it down until the day comes when you read it and it gives you almost like this little happy tear. You go, oh my gosh, that is me. That is the central me of who I am. And so I finally got my purpose statement crafted to that little short, and it's been the same. I say it every single day. It has not changed for more than 4 decades.
Wow.
And it is very simple. I pledge my life to my greatest expression of love and service for the benefit of humanity. Period.
Yeah, I love that.
Love that. Wow.
And so the way I look at purpose is your foundation. So if you think of, building a house, you could design everything you want in the house, but if the contractor doesn't come in and build a solid foundation, in time, that house is going to creak and crack, and the wood's going to dry, and all of a sudden you're going to have a very unstable home. And I can say that from the physical realm, from the spiritual realm, right? From the mental realm. If you don't have a stable home, you have an issue. So if you don't have a stable home inside of you, you have an issue. the best way to create stability is to find out. So what is that foundation? So every decision that I make is built on that foundational purpose statement. So I'll repeat it. I pledge my life to my greatest expression of love and service for the benefit of humanity. So if I'm asked to do something and I think back, I was like, does that fit my purpose? And if I say, no, it doesn't fit my purpose, I go, thank you, but no, thank you. Right? When you invited me to come on the podcast, my brain was, does that fit my purpose statement? I was like, yeah, of course it does. Because if in this interview, I can help one person, I fulfill my purpose. And it's caused me to have an awesome day. And so I wake up every day with that thought. How am I going to live my purpose today? And at the beginning, to be honest, it was written everywhere I could see it. So, back in the day, it was typed on a typewriter and it was printed. Then I photocopied. So I had a photocopy on my mirror at home, had a photocopy on my desk at the office, had a photocopy on my desk at home. So wherever I was, I would focus on that, because even though it's short, it's like you still have to remember it. And I didn't want to memorize it. I didn't want to study it and memorize it. I wanted to feel it. And so purpose is something you feel. So, we could be out having lunch somewhere and you could say, hey, Gilles, what's your purpose statement? And it would just come off like I just did now. Like I don't have to read it. I don't have it written anywhere, because now it's etched. It's etched like inside of me. It's in my heart and it's in my head. So when the two are connected, good stuff happens.
Yeah, there's that feeling word again.
Once
again, I'm being proven wrong on camera here.
Yep.
And that's the conversation, and the difference between the two of us, right? Is I got to go research it. I got to, I remember when you took me through, I think a lot of people know what a mission statement is for like a business. And I don't think a lot of people have a mission statement for themselves. And that's what I think about with like the purpose statement, mission statement. How do I serve? How do I do that? And I love how you tied in, well, I don't, because I'm going to hear about it later, but I love how you tied the feeling part in there. Because I love to kind of live in my head and figure it out. And she's all about the feeling and what that does to the physiology and to the body.
Purpose is why.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with how you're going to do it. But why? Why are you going to choose to wake up? Why are you going to choose to be the best version of yourself every minute of every single day? And I'll tell you, there are days, if I didn't have a purpose, I would fall off. Because when you hit a roadblock, most people have a tendency to do what when they hit a roadblock? Just quit, go, I just can't do it. Yeah. And now I'm all stressed out. Now it affects what? It affects their sympathetic nervous system. They start working on that sympathetic. It's fight or flight, it's fight or flight, it's fight or flight all day long. Do I have fight or flight moments? Of course I do. That's how the body's designed. But when you're on purpose, you live in parasympathetic most of the time. And when you need to go into sympathetic, when you need to go into fight or flight, because you're driving in traffic and somebody cuts you off, you have this ability to respond. And once you've responded to the crisis or the potential danger, you just sit back, you go back into parasympathetic, rest, digest, think, create, love, embrace, enjoy. That's why we were created, in my opinion.
Yep. No, I agree. We were actually talking about that on the way in. We get into purpose talks a lot. You influence a lot of our talks when it comes to purpose and intention and stuff. And I feel like there's so many people out there that are struggling to find that purpose and figure out how do I get to that place? They're so busy doing all these things for everybody else. We were talking on the way in about kind of with our patients.
Like super moms, right?
Exactly.
They live their life in service, right? And I think in some ways they lose themselves.
They do. Yeah. That constant, well, I have to do this for someone else, or I feel a drive to do this. And that feels like, to me, I'm hearing them saying, this is my why. But they're so inundated with doing all the things for everybody else, or somebody might say something and it squashes that why, and, not listening to that inner, what is it that fills you up? What is it that ignites that flame, that fire that, like you were saying, and contacting your heart when you did it, that foundation of that person, of who you are, and, finding that. Like, how would you recommend, like, what are some things that you would recommend to people listening, that how to kind of tap into that and be able to kind of listen and find your why?
That's a great question, Dr. Meaghan, because to me, it is the question. It's
Ah,
not a question, it is the question.
question.
And you've got to ask tough questions
Mhm.
if you want a solid, tough answer, an answer that's going to guide you like it did for me for like literally the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so the way I'm going to share a little exercise. I don't know how much time we have here, but people can, you can create the exercise for all of you listening in. I'm going to ask you, when you have the opportunity, take a page of paper, put 3 columns, and at the top put adjective, verbs, nouns, and listen to yourself when you're speaking to other people
Mhm.
and pick out the top 5 adjectives that you seem to have in your vocabulary that make you feel good. Pick out the top 5 verbs that make you feel good. Pick up the top 5 nouns that make you feel good. And then look at these 15 words and then say to yourself, which 3 words in each column do I not want to live without? If I said you can only have 3 verbs that you use as it relates to joy, happiness, whatever it may be, what would those 3 verbs be? Same thing with adjectives, same things with nouns. And once you have these 9 words, look at what sentence you can create using those words, a sentence or 2 using those words. And of course, you might have to use filler words to link it. But when you do that exercise, remember, they are your words that you hear yourself using that put a smile on your face like Dr. Meg has right now, right? Those words, you can create a statement that becomes your purpose statement. And I would then, suggest that start your statements with either with I or I pledge or my purpose is. So for mine, right? I pledge my life to my greatest expression of love and service for the benefit of humanity. Initially, I didn't have the word pledge there. It was like I choose, and it was like it didn't feel powerful.
Mhm.
As
Okay.
I played with that sentence over a number of weeks, I was like, so what am I really asking myself? And then the word pledge came to me. I was like, oh my gosh, pledge is like the depth of commitment. It's like I'm planting my feet in concrete and saying, I am not going to budge. I pledge my life. Like that means like every day, every minute that I'm awake, that's my pledge. And so once you have that clarity and you read it daily, every time you feel stuck, you go back and you read it again.
Mhm.
So at the beginning, when I started this process, I probably read the statement 10, 15, 20 times. I mean, every time, the yogurt hit the fan or whatever, it's like, what do I do now? It was like, okay, well, get recentered, get refocused. How do you do that? Purpose statement.
I
You
love
get
that.
into this quiet space. And when I was in practice, my quiet space while I was in the office, if something hit the fan, I would go into my dark room where we developed x-ray films, right? I'd go in my dark room, close the door. I'd take a nice long deep breath and go, what did I choose this morning? When I woke up this morning and I read my purpose statement, what choice did I make? And then I would recite it, right? I pledged my life. I made that choice this morning to pledge my life to my greatest expression of love and service, not just to love and serve people, but to my greatest expression of love and service for the benefit of humanity. And then you take a couple more deep breaths and you realize, boom, you're right back into parasympathetic. It's like,
Mhm.
ah. But you see, you serve because you're choosing to serve.
Mhm.
None of it is a task. When you get into sympathetic and you say, well, I'm choosing to serve and I'm in sympathetic, that's because you're now seeing that act of service as a task. It's something you have to do,
Interesting.
not
Mhm.
something you're choosing to do. Same task, different motive. One is I'm choosing and one is I'm reacting. One is working from my parasympathetic nervous system. One's working from my sympathetic nervous system, which is sympathetic's only meant to save you when you're in trouble.
Mhm.
The rest of the time, we're meant to live in parasympathetic.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for those of you who are, you don't know exactly where you're at yet. Just, listen to this podcast maybe again and just follow this little exercise. And as you start creating this sentence, tweak it, leave it on your desk, read it, say, how does that make me feel?
Mhm.
because you want to finish that statement where it makes you have this little happy tear. You read it and you go, wow, this is the core of my being. Like, this
Mhm.
is who I am. This is why I was put on the planet. Wow. So for me, that's my fuel. Every day, that's my fuel. And I don't have to work at it anymore. I recite it. And so I feed my brain that good food. And if the yogurt hits the fan on something, I feed my brain that good food again. It's like remind myself again, even though I've been doing this for at least 40 times 365, right? I won't do the math, but it's whatever, 15, 20,000 days, whatever that I've been doing. I've been doing this for a long time.
Mhm.
And sometimes I still need to remind myself.
Yep.
Rare, but every once in a while, I need to sort of kick myself, say, okay, are you really on purpose today? Or did you allow somebody to push a button that you thought you had removed from yourself?
Mhm.
So just go back, read your purpose, recite your purpose, and see how it makes you feel when you're in that quiet space where you can honestly say, I am choosing to live a purposeful life because that's who I want to be.
Yeah. As you're saying all of this is just like, yeah, like so many feelings. I don't know. I'm feeling you thinking, but I'm feeling all these feelings. And that
Well, no, I actually stayed out of my head for a second.
you
And
got in there for a
the
second.
first three words that came to mind were nouns, were leader, teacher, doctor.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
and
Leader,
that
teacher, doctor.
actually brought like a feeling to me. I know I don't have a lot of feelings,
You
but
left.
that
I know.
what brought one feeling to me.
But the
So,
purpose statement has always been so interesting in that I know you read my book as well, and like that struggle to find my purpose. In a earlier podcast, Dr. Mike talked about how he always had goals, he had things that he wanted to do, and that kind of defined where he saw his life going. And I see that there's definitely people out there that just have it planned and they know what they want to do and how they want to serve and do, and it fills them up. And then I see and mostly work with people that don't have that and are still trying to find that or find their way to it. And that, so it resonates when you talk about that purpose, because I never had the words written out. And I love this exercise and I'm totally going to put something together,
Yeah.
but it's always been a feeling for me. If something didn't feel right when I was, is this like you're saying, is this serving the purpose that I have? And things just felt just crunchy inside. They felt staticky. It was like, that's my no, don't go that way. But oftentimes we just push through that and we'll continue going that way because, well, I have to do this for the expectation of somebody else. I have to do this. So it's like that clarity that you're saying, we're getting clear. And sometimes that doesn't come out like, just like, finding, I want to be a pilot and you wanted to, get into it. Doesn't, it takes time as you're, I think, listening to that intuition inside and kind of crafting that statement like you were talking about. You added the pledge in there. The other words just didn't feel right. It just wasn't the right fit. So it's a journey, and it's, I think that's really what's found my passion around, is helping people find that purpose.
and
So
the purpose, as I talked about purpose being the foundation,
yes.
goals become the pillars of that foundation that build the house that you called life, your
Oh,
life.
That's
My
beautiful.
favorite building in the entire world, and if you have not been to Italy and I had the opportunity to see it, is the Pantheon in Rome. And I tell people all the time, just go Google the Pantheon, and you'll see that it was built. I think it was finished in the year like 121, and we're in, right now we're in 2025. So imagine it's like 1900 plus years old and it still stands strong. You can tell that the marble pillars have been worn by the wind and the weather, etc.
Mhm.
But the building still stands strong. And it stands strong for one particular reason. It's on a solid foundation. And
Yeah.
so on the foundation of my purpose and on everybody's foundation of purpose, you build your other pillars. And your pillars are on such a strong foundation, the pillars become strong. So, I had my chiropractor, my practicing chiropractor pillar. I have my community leader pillar. I have my father pillar and my husband pillar. And I have a grandfather pillar. I mean, I have all these pillars that are built on this foundation. And on that, you get to build the roof, which is the ascension of your life purpose, right? Purpose is down here. You build all the goals and pillars, and then you build the roof. And I call that in its entirety is your life. So you ascend from purpose You live your goals and you go, wow, how cool is this? I mean, I do that every day. I look like, wow, how cool is this? I got to meet this person. I got to interact with this person. I got invited here. Like, who would have ever thought that I could ever be interacting with people like that? And then I realized, well, why did that happen? Because every single day I'm living my purpose and I'm not afraid to speak it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't throw up on people, but if somebody asks you, like you invite me to come here and talk about purpose, of course I'm going to talk about it. It is the foundation of everybody's life. And most people don't know.
Yeah.
Most people just don't know. Because you ask somebody, do you have a personal purpose statement? I've asked that question in audiences of 100, 500. I've asked that question in an audience of 5,000. My experience has been, and it's, a straw poll kind of thing, less than 5% of people have a purpose statement, and it might be even less than one sometimes, that they could repeat verbatim in a moment. And I'll ask from the stage often, how many of you have a purpose or mission statement for your practice? If I'm talking to chiropractors, or for your business, if I'm talking to whatever, the Rotary Club or something like that. And you'll get a number of hands up, like maybe 50% of the hands up. And then I'll say, I won't embarrass anybody, so I won't ask you to come to the front. But I just want you to be honest with yourself. If I was going to ask you to come to the front on the stage and recite your purpose statement verbatim, how many of you could do that? Most of the hands go down, and you're
Mm-hmm.
left with that small percentage. I said, okay, lesson number one. If you're not clear with your mission statement, what is the chance that the people you serve through your business will know who you are and what you do? They go, it's a slim chance. I said, exactly. So now the next question is, how many of you have a personal purpose statement, which is the foundation for your life? Now, less hands come up, but the hands still go up. And I said, so keep your hand up. Next question, how many of you could walk up here and verbatim repeat that statement? And if you can't, please put your hands down. The majority of hands go down. In a crowd of 500, you'd be hard pressed to have 5 to 10 people who could walk up and recite their purpose statement verbatim, because they know it's important, but it's never risen to the level of importance that it should have.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, like I said early on as we started, that's why we were put on the planet. There's not a person that was put on this planet that was not put here for a purpose. We're here for a reason. And once we find that purpose, I mean, the rest is history. You just get to live this. I mean, every adjective that stands for positive relates to that. Once you find that purpose, you're joyful, you're happy, you're pleasant, you're gracious, you're kind, you're graceful. I mean, think of every adjective you could add to that. They all play and they all come in. And so that, right? I mean, you raise up to your full potential. How many people are living their life 1 or 10%, 1 or less than 10% of their potential?
Yeah.
The majority of people. I want to incite people to live like to their full potential, like live all out. You all have this great music, play it all out. Like the day I die, I want to have no music left in me. None. I want to have played every single note, and I'm not musical, so I'm just using that as an analogy. I want to have played life like full out and contributed everything I have to serve other people. And I could lay there as I take my last breath and go, I was a faithful servant.
And that's how you live your life, with excitement. And I think that's probably the best way to describe how I see you approach everything.
Yes.
Right? Is you're excited by everything that a lot of people, like I had a guy tell me yesterday, I was getting home late from the office because we work late on Thursdays because we see patients late. And we walked in the door at 8:00. He's like, work is a 4-letter word for a reason. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really have to be. And just kind of walked in the door, right? He's kind of a grumpy old man that, does his thing. And, but I think that when you because I love what I do. I know Dr. Meg loves what I do. I always say, like, I was put here, my injury got me here. And I love the fact that I went through all of that. And so things happen for you, not to you. And and that's what I learned from you, coming from that place just allows you to, as one of my favorite people, Jim Harbaugh, says, attack each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. Like that's how I see you live your life and I love how you kind of walked through just the knowing that and being clear on it is like a conversation we had the other day. You come from a place of unconscious competence. It's like you live with integrity that is so automatic, you don't even think about it anymore. And as a result, you get to see and live that excitement and playing your music as loud as you can.
It's such a fun way to live life. To me, I mean, I can't see I wouldn't want to live life any other way. Once you discover this is like, okay, this is almost like magic, but it's not magic. It's all based on what? Choice.
Yes.
I get to, I want to, I choose to.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning, you have to make that conscious choice. That's why I said, my purpose statement was everywhere. It was on the mirror, on the table. I mean, I had photocopies all over the place to remind myself. Because at the beginning, you're like, it's new. It's something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was in my late 20s when I discovered this.
Yeah.
And it completely shifted my pathway, obviously. And I've had some major challenges, as you well know, that we don't have the time to get into. But these major challenges were handled, I would say, with a very high level of peace.
Yeah.
Because I had that strong foundation, which was my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Go ahead.
That's where I love that you say that, because that's where I feel like a lot of with the work, the neuroemotional technique and whatnot, that really cleared out a lot of those bad thoughts that I had. And I see this over and over with patients, that having the reminders around the house with these statements, with these positive affirmations, with these kinds of, choose to think differently. Like we're neurologically programmed to be in that survival place, right? Unless we're consciously trying to do things to, okay, I get to do this. Instead of I have to go to work, I get to go to work. And to change those words and that feeling that comes inside. And if there are things that you feel like are just burdening you down, well, let's do work to get that out of the way so that you can stay in that place more easily. Of course, we always have moments where things are just rough, and then we have to really work to change that mindset. But it's a choice to stay in that negativity, or a choice to really try to find ways, someone to help, so that you can get to that purpose, to get to that, that feeling that's fulfilling, to get to a way that you're living every day and have been forever. Like, it's doable for everyone. It's just a different maybe journey for some people, but definitely I love how you had it all over the house in the beginning, as you're changing and putting that out into, this is how I want to be. This is how I want to live. This is how I want to be intentional, to have those reminders in the beginning like that.
And, I'm sitting at my little conference table in my office here at Life University in Marietta, Georgia. And I was going to ask if I could get up and go get something, but I realized I can actually see it at my desk, not very far.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this frame in a shop, I don't know, a few years ago, and it sits facing this way. So if I ever have anybody that's coming to visit me, I'm sort of a knee-to-knee kind of person. I don't sit across the desk when I meet with people. I like to sit with them, but it's visible to them, but it's also visible to me every morning when I walk into my office. And it says, and when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love.
I love that.
Like, what a precious privilege it is, and how many people see being alive as a privilege. Some people see it as a burden.
Yes.
All of us can see it as a privilege. When you get on purpose, you start seeing you were put here for a reason, and you actually get to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Like, for me at my age, I drive on this campus every morning. I go, thank you. I get to be here today. I get all these opportunities to serve students, faculty, staff. I mean, I was training on our track this morning, and I stopped and I talked to some of our grounds people, and I saw things they could be doing better. And I asked permission. If I said, I know you don't report to me, I know this is not my department, I said, but I'm seeing things that I'd love to have an opportunity to share with you. Would you be okay if I shared with you a couple ways that I think you could do what you're doing more efficiently with greater ease? And the guy looked at me, of course, Dr. LaMarche, you could tell us that anytime. But I also never want to overstep my boundaries because they don't report. The grounds crew doesn't report to me. But I shared with him a couple of things. And I said, and I started off by saying, I see how hard you all work every single day. And in the deep heat of summer, I see you sweating it away, and you guys do a really, really good job. And I think that sometimes you do a lot of work that takes you more time, that takes you more energy and more stress than if you looked at it from a space of X, Y, and Z. What do you think about that? He was like, never thought of that. I'm going to try that starting on Monday.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Well, and it's because you've always come from a place of integrity, and you always, like you said, I asked permission to share with them, right? And so, I love that, like, kind of being invited in and doing that. And as we kind of wrap up, I love, and I think this was a mic drop moment that we passed up. I get to, I want to, I choose to. If you just do that every day, that activates the prefrontal cortex in a different way. And, even until you get clear on that statement and get that really figured out, if you just say that for everything that you do, because I find myself doing that. I say I get to a lot instead of, oh man, I got to go do this, or it's no, I get to go do this. Somebody values me enough to need my help. Right. And I feel like when we come from that place, it definitely opens our brain and opens our heart and really gets those two things in sync. So,
and when the heart and brain are in sync, you create an amazing life.
Yep. So I thank you very much for being here, Doc. It's always a privilege to chat with you. And I always love kind of where our conversations go. I know we're going to have to rewatch this and take some notes, because I'm going to do the 9-word thing. Yes. Like I said, those 3 words really hit me right in the feels. Somewhere around here.
In the fields.
Well, the field extends like way beyond. And I see the purple behind you today. I'm wearing purple today. That's a great color of.
Yes.
Take a deep breath, open it all in. And so for those of you who are going to choose to do the exercise, I did not suggest something, but before you start, put your piece of paper down with your pen and draw these 3 columns and put, nouns, verbs, and adjectives. But sit there for a moment and take some long, deep breaths, 2 or 3 at least. Allow yourself to set in. And once you feel set in, then think, when I'm having conversation with someone that I really care about, someone that I love, what are some of the words that I use? And if you can't come up with 15 words at the beginning, that's fine. Leave the piece of paper somewhere where you see it and go about your day. But be intentional and paying attention to the conversation you're having. All of a sudden, you're having a conversation with your spouse or with your child or with a friend. You go, those are the words that I use. And they'll start coming to your mind. And from there, you can build your statement. They are your words. You don't want to go online and say, okay, can I read somebody else's purpose statement and start using their words? If they're not your words, they're not you.
Nope.
And
you want to make it you. It's got to be personal.
Nope, this is not a Chat GPT moment, people.
This is not a Chat GPT moment whatsoever.
No.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Doc. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you. It was my honor and pleasure to be with you today, and honored to serve your community.